kind of like a dream job. It's the sort of thing you're like, oh, I would love to do this if I could, but when am I actually going to be able to do that?
Hello readers, I'm Victoria Wood and you're listening to Biblio Happy Hour, the show that shares new book releases. We chat to the authors who write them and the people who sell them. Every week, we'll share some of the new books that will be hitting bookshelves that week. We'll invite an author or two or more on the show to talk about their debut or newest release, and we'll introduce you to an independent bookseller and their bookstore so you can stop by, get tailored book recommendations, and pick up some new books when you're in town. So make space on your bookshelves, follow us on social media, and make sure you're subscribed to Biblio Happy Hour wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Readers, Biblio Lifestyle is a newsletter, community, and space for people who can't live a life without books in it. Every Friday, you'll get a special treat in your inbox filled with inspirational content, book recommendations, self-care tips, original interviews, and things we think you'll enjoy. The best part? You'll only receive one email per week, and it will be an amazing 5-minute read or less. So if you're not on the list, sign up now for our free weekly delivery at bibliolifestyle.com. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. This week, I'll be chatting with bookseller Gabriella Crivilare, and she is from Prairie Fox Books, located in Ottawa, Illinois. We'll be talking about her bookstore, the town of Ottawa, and how she got involved in book selling. Gabriella, thank you so much for coming on the show, and welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Of course, this is exciting. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. So really quick, before we get started, are you a coffee or a tea person?
I'm a coffee person.
You tend to start your day with coffee always?
The vast majority of the time.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's get into some details about the bookstore. Tell us about your store, where you're located, and share a bit about your town.
Okay, so Prairie Fox Books, my mother and I started it actually in autumn of 2016. Our local bookstore owner had decided to retire. Back then it was called the Book Mouse, and I was away for my first summer of grad school, and my mom had texted me and she said, the bookstore is closing, and I was really upset because, you know, it's a bookstore, and when the bookstore had changed owners the first time, she hadn't found out until after it had the new owner. And she said I would have done it. She would have tried to run it. And so this time we found out, and she asked me, she's like, do you want to take over the bookstore? Do you want to save the bookstore, basically? And I was like, yeah, we can't not have a bookstore in town. So I came back from school at the end of that summer, and we started getting things in motion, and then we opened up in October of that same year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was a little bit crazy, a little bit impulsive, but we are still here, and things are going even better.
Tell us a bit about the town where you're located exactly. Tell us about where your store is situated and also what's good to do in town.
Okay, the bookstore is located in Ottawa, Illinois. We are the only independent bookstore in the county now. You may have heard of Ottawa if you have read the book The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. That is one of the things our town is most, I guess you could say, known for. Radium dial painters and the tragedy of their work. We also were the site of one of the Lincoln-Douglas debates when Abraham Lincoln was running for president. That's another thing we're pretty well known for. And in town we have a lot of really neat little boutique shops. The downtown has been really revitalizing in recent years. Really great to see so many things spring up.
So, getting a bit personal, I know you mentioned your mom had mentioned to you before if she had known the bookstore was changing hands earlier, she would have jumped in then. But is it something that you guys always wanted to do? Did your mom always want to be a bookseller? Did you know you were going to end up in this field? Or did the opportunity just present itself and you're like, okay, let's do this?
Really more of the opportunity just presented itself. My mother does co-own a toy store in town as well. It is right across the street from where I'm at. And her specialty is picture books. And so they have a magnificent picture book room over there. So yes, it really did more of, it was a moment of opportunity that just presented itself. I definitely never expected, that was kind of like a dream job, the sort of thing you're like, oh, I would love to do this if I could, but when am I actually going to be able to do that? And then it actually happened.
Well, that's awesome. But wrapping up, what would you like everyone listening to know about your bookstore? This is your opportunity, honestly, to rant about Prairie Fox Books. What would you want everyone listening to know?
Just that we want to be a community space. We do book clubs now. We do a poetry and prose group. We want it to sort of feel like a place where you can come and read. And we want you to be able to trust us to recommend you books because we love doing it and we love participating in our local community. So we really appreciate when people support us in return.
Absolutely. Gabriella, thank you so much for taking the time out to come on the show and talk about your bookstore, and just really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Readers, you can connect with Prairie Fox Books in Ottawa, Illinois at their website, prairiefoxbooks.com. You can also find them on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Prairie Fox Books. If you would like to tune in to the rest of my conversation with bookseller Gabriella Crivilare, the full podcast episode will be available on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/BiblioFinder. To find an indie bookstore near you or when you're traveling, visit bibliofinder.com. BiblioFinder is a new online directory for independent bookstores, and they help users to find bookstores worldwide based on your current or planned location. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, please tag BiblioFinder in your indie bookstore photos. Now, I will be mentioning some of the books that will be available on bookshelves during the week of Monday, January 20th. And I'm thrilled to have authors Tiffany Tsao here on the show to talk about her new novel. New this week from Riverhead Books is Humble Pie by Matt Parker. Humble Pie reveals the importance of math in our everyday lives. New this week from Ballantine Books, A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende. A Long Petal of the Sea has been described as an epic novel spanning decades and crossing continents that follows two young people as they flee the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War in a search of a new place to call home. New this week from Random House, Stateways Garden, a story collection by Jasmine Drain. This story collection focuses on the interconnected lives of the residents of a public housing project on the south side of Chicago. New this week from Eco Books, Outside Looking In by T.C. Boyle. Outside Looking In explores the first scientific and recreational forays into LSD and its mind-altering possibilities. From Harper Paperbacks, Free Fall by Jessica Barry. New this week from Harper Books, Sanctuary by Luca D'Andrea. Sanctuary is a twisty thriller that follows a woman on the run from her crime boss husband and the assassin sent to kill her. New this week from William Morrow Books, Almost Just Friends by Jill Shalvis. New this week from Simon & Schuster, Heart of Junk by Luke Geddes. Heart of Junk has been described as a hilarious debut novel about an eclectic group of merchants at a Kansas antique mall who become implicated in the kidnapping of a local beauty pageant star. New this week from Scribner Books, Follow Me to Ground by Sue Rainsford. This is a haunted, surreal debut novel about an otherworldly young woman, her father, and her lover that culminates in a shocking moment of betrayal. One that upends our understanding of power, predation, and agency. New in paperback from Scribner Books, Rotting Season, a story collection by Mandolin Smith. New this week from Atria Books is The Majesties, and we have the author Tiffany Tsao here with us to share all the details. Tiffany, welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, your newest novel, The Majesties, will be available on bookshelves in the US this week. How are you feeling? How excited are you?
I'm feeling really excited. So I've written two novels before this, but they're just quite different. So they're part of a fantasy trilogy called the Odd Fit series. And this was something completely different, a big departure for me in terms of like content and theme and style. So yeah, really excited. And it's really cool to see, the book on like most anticipated list. There's some good reviews out already, so that's making me very optimistic and very happy.
Awesome. Yeah, I can only imagine just how exciting this whole thing can be for you. So tell listeners about your new novel, The Majesties, and what can readers expect?
It's, I guess I would call it a dark, quasi-gothic, quasi-sci-fi literary thriller. It's about two sisters, and one sister wakes up in a hospital bed and finds out her sister has killed 300 people at their grandfather's birthday banquet. And that, in fact, she's been killed as well as her sister. It's a mass murder-suicide. And she also finds out she's trapped in a coma still and is trying to sift through her memories from her hospital bed to figure out why her sister would do such a thing. The sisters are named Gwendolyn and Estella.
Okay, so what inspired you to write this novel, and what was the spark that lit this fire? I know you mentioned earlier this is something different than your usual, so what inspired you to write The Majesties?
Let's see. I guess there are two different levels I can answer this question on. The first would be I had just finished my first novel, The Odd Fits, and that is quite a quirky novel. And my agent had said, "Oh, we'll find a publisher for it. But in the meantime, you might want to try just writing another novel. Don't just wait. You should write." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I felt at the time like, oh, this is probably her polite way of saying this first book won't sell, so I should write a second book." And so I began, and I'd wanted to write a book for a long time about the Chinese Indonesian part of my heritage, because my family's, I'm actually of Chinese Indonesian descent, but grew up between Indonesia and Singapore. So the first book was set in Singapore, and I wanted to write something about the Indonesian side of me. So I began thinking about that, and I also began thinking about wanting to write a novel which dealt with the dark secrets of family and the possibility of familial love being expressed by having to overlook certain secrets. So what happens when you start dredging up those secrets and bringing them to light, right? Is it possible to love people whom you really know all their secrets and recognize the horrificness of those secrets, or is it kinder? Is it more loving in a certain way, right? To enact a sort of deception on you and on the other people by, not almost pretending they don't exist, right? We overlook the sins and the faults of those we love. So it's just sort of me wanting to explore that a bit more.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little and ask, who would you say is your favorite character in the novel?
Ooh, that is really hard. I don't know. I would say Gwendolyn, who's the narrator. And I think maybe it's just because I'm so immersed in her tone, right? Because I wrote her tone. So I think there's a very strong personal identification and a bond that comes about when you're the author writing in that person's voice.
Right. So is there a particular scene in the novel that you enjoyed writing the most, or a scene that resonated with you personally?
Oh gosh. What was really fun, I'll give you, there are some scenes in the novel which sort of, emotionally unnerved me, and then I had to go out afterwards and, take a break and have a coffee. But and those are the scenes that have to do with the abusive relationship between Leonard and Estella. But the scenes that I had the most fun writing were actually scenes where we're talking about the luxury fashion house that Gwendolyn, the narrator, sets up. So she founds a luxury fashion house specializing in designer accessories made from genetically modified insects. And actually, I'm an amateur sort of dilettante in terms of entomology. I have a secret love for entomology. I kind of wish I had actually studied it at university. So that was really fun, sort of being able to flesh out those aspects. And my fiction always tends towards the fantastical and sci-fi anyway, even when I'm trying to just write, I guess, quote unquote, normally. Yeah, so it was just really nice to really just delve into my imagination and also my love for insects to think about these, exquisite pieces that were made out of, actual, but, genetically modified dormant beetles and butterflies and all of that. So that was really fun.
Awesome. I know you mentioned entomology earlier, but if you didn't write, what would you do for work or as a creative pursuit?
I'm kind of happy doing what I do. Although I don't know, I feel like I should also always clarify when I say like, oh, I'm a full-time writer and translator, that it's like totally not economically feasible. I feel not yet. Hopefully something magical will happen. All of a sudden it'll become like, this great moneymaker. But right now, I don't know. I'm very convicted every day by the fact that I have to rely on the income of my spouse, that we're a dual income family and that, my spouse is the one who earns like the bulk of the money. So that's a bit like convicting. So I don't know if I'm doing it right. I enjoy what I do, yet I'm, sort of plagued with guilt by the fact that I'm not actually making enough income. So then sometimes I think, oh, maybe I'll just go part-time, do part-time editing or something or like that in the future. I don't know. Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite childhood book?
Okay, so I really like The Secret Garden. I reread it so many times. I really like The Phantom Tollbooth. It really is one of my favorites. And really randomly, I really like, I used to read so many books by this author, Gordon Corman, and he's Canadian. And they're really like quite sort of like silly slapstick books, but I think they actually influenced my sense of humor quite a lot. And then there's this one book of his, I Want to Go Home, and it's set in this, like sort of American summer camp. And, growing up in Asia, I was like, oh, American summer camp, how interesting. And, it's just like, it just struck me as really funny. And I reread it so many times that actually after I left that school, I wrote back to the principal and I said, could I buy that book from the library? Like, I know that it'll be hard to get another copy, but I really liked it so much. And he was very sweet and, okay, well, this is, complete, against copyright. But then he photocopied the book for me and gave me a bound photocopied version of the book. So now I actually have that still.
Wow.
I sort of keep it on my bookshelf with all my other, actual, official books.
That's pretty cool. I actually like that. I know we're not supposed to, but...
Oh, I know. I feel really bad. I should just get, a used copy online from Amazon. I think they're out of print now. I'm not sure if they're still in print.
Oh, okay. So on the podcast, we love independent booksellers. We are always looking for opportunities to shout them out. So share with our listeners some of your favorite indie bookstores.
So in Australia, here where I live, in Sydney, I really love this bookstore called Better Read Than Dead. And they're in a neighborhood called Newtown. Really love them. In Melbourne, where I, go from time to time, there's this really wonderful bookstore called Readings. And I really love them as well. And they're in a neighborhood called Carlton. And then in Singapore, where, I grew up part of the time, and my mother's side of the family still lives there. There's Books Actually, which is a really, cute, cool indie bookstore. And in Jakarta, I was just there a few months ago, and it was really cool. I went to these two indie bookstores that I had heard a lot about, and I finally got to visit. And one is called Post, P-O-S-T, and the other one's called Transit, and they both are sort of like 3 corridors down from each other in this covered marketplace called Pasar Santa. Those are my favorite ones in the world, I think.
Okay, so getting back to the Majesties, how do you want readers to feel after reading the Majesties? What are you hoping for?
I think I want readers to feel unsettled. Yeah, that would be the best way of putting it, I think. Yeah, there's just a lot to unpack. I guess I'd like the readers to come away knowing more about the Chinese Indonesian community in Indonesia, because that's where the novel is set. I'd like readers to think more about the nature of love and familial love, and yeah, maybe the role, as we discussed before, the role of forgiveness in that love. And of course, there's a big twist at the end, in addition to, unsettling what people may have thought before and adding to what people knew. Maybe also if an element of lingering shock would be appropriate for for the twist, which I can't give away.
Yes.
At the end, then yeah, maybe I would be pleased with that as well. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on the show, everyone. The Majesties will be available in bookstores in the US on Tuesday, January 21st. Readers, you can connect with author Tiffany Tsao at her website, tiffanytsao.com. You can also find her on Instagram at Tiffany Tsao and on Twitter at Tiff Tsao. You can also tune in to the rest of my chat with Tiffany in our off-the-cuff discussion over on our Patreon page. She shares more about her writing process, her work schedule, what she's doing when she's not reading or writing, and writing and translating projects she's currently working on. So head on over to patreon.com/bibliofinder and tune in to the rest of our conversation. New this week from Litter Brown and Company, Processed Cheese by Stephen Wright. Processed Cheese is both satire and serious as death. It's a road novel, a family story, and a last girl standing thriller. New this week from Litter Brown Spark, Murder Your Darlings, and Other Gentle Writing Advice from Aristotle to Zinser by Roy Peter Clark. Murder Your Darlings is a collection of 50 of the best writing strategies distilled from 50 writing and language books, from Aristotle to Strunk and White. New this week from Basic Books, American Queenmaker, How Miss Melanie Brought Women into Politics by Julie Desjardins. Also new from Basic Books, The Third Rainbow Girl, The Long Life of a Double Murder in Appalachia by Emma Copley Einsberg. The Third Rainbow Girl is an investigation of the murder of two young women, showing how a violent crime casts a shadow over an entire community. New in paperback from Hachette Books, Maid, Hard Work, Low Pay, and a Mother's Will to Survive by Stephanie Land and Barbara Einrich. New this week from Tin House Books, The Wagers by Sean Michael. New in paperback from Grove Atlantic, The Burglar by Thomas Perry. Also new in paperback from Grove Atlantic, Help Me, One Woman's Quest to Find Out If Self-Help Can Really Change Your Life by Marianne Power. Also new in paperback, Henry VIII and the Men Who Made Him by Tracy Borman. Also new in paperback from Grove Atlantic, Long Shot, The Inside Story of the Kurdish Snipers Who Broke ISIS by Azad. New this week from Flatiron Books, American Dirt by Janine Cummings. American Dirt is a rare exploration into the inner hearts of people willing to sacrifice everything for a glimmer of hope. Readers, if you need a more tailored selection of books to keep on your radar, or you want to hear more from your favorite authors that we've had on the show, become a patron at patreon.com/bibliofinder. For $1 per month, you'll get our monthly top shelf recommendations of new releases that we're super excited about. You'll also hear more from your favorite authors in our off-the-cuff discussions. You'll get our full Meet the Bookseller podcast episodes, get bookish-themed Instagram templates, plus lots more. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. New this week from FSG Books, The Making of Poetry, Coleridge, the Wordsworths, and Their Year of Marvels by Adam Nicholson, illustrated by Tom Hammock. New this week from Grey Wolf Press, Homie, a poetry collection by Danez Smith. New this week from Henry Holt & Company, Universal Love, a story collection by Alexander Weinstein. Universal Love is a hypnotic collection of speculative fiction about compassion, love, and human resilience in the technological hyper-age. New this week from Holt Paperbacks, The Cassandra by Sharma Shields. Also new in paperback, Falter, Has the Human Game Begun to Play Itself Out by Bill McKibben. New this week from Forge Books is Remembrance by Rita Woods. New this week from Minotaur Books, The Mitford Scandal by Jessica Fellows. This is book 3 in the Mitford Murders series. Also new from Minotaur Books, The Wife and the Widow by Christian White. The Widow and the Wife is a thriller told from two perspectives. Kate, a widow whose grief is compounded by what she learns about her dead husband's secret life, and Abby, an island local whose world is turned upside down when she's forced to confront the evidence of her husband's guilt. New this week from Tor.com, Riot Baby by Tochi Onebuchi. New this week from Tor Books, A Queen in Hiding by Sarah Kozloff. Readers, I hope you enjoyed today's show. A list of all the books mentioned in the show will be available over at bibliohappyhour.com. To shop all the books I've mentioned in the show and to find a bookstore near you or when you're traveling, visit bibliofinder.com. If you're on Twitter or Facebook, please let us know at Biblio Happy Hour and tag us in your post over on Instagram, also at Biblio Happy Hour. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please share Biblio Happy Hour with your favorite bookish friends, share us on social media, and please leave us a rating and review. Don't forget, Biblio Lifestyle newsletter subscribers are the first to know all the podcast happenings, get free goodies in the mail, and they can enter for a chance to win some free books. So if you're not on the list, sign up now for our free weekly delivery at bibliolifestyle.com. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. Alrighty readers, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening and happy reading.